things you own end up owning you.
What's going on, cutie pies? Welcome back to the show. My guest today is Matt Blackburn. Matt is a health and longevity researcher, the founder of Mito Life, and hosts his own podcast, Mito Life Radio. We talk about how Matt got into health and wellness, his perspective on vitamin D, and how you can upgrade your water game, his diet. We talk about relationships and a whole bunch of other stuff. Matt is really knowledgeable in the health and wellness sphere, and he's been in it for many years, and he was a pleasure to talk to, and we had a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed this one. I was going to ask you, man. So first of all, thank you for coming on and doing this. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I got some of these Mito Life, Puffa Protect, Vitamin E. I got them a long time ago from you, And I got the MFG on the bottom. It says 8/2019. What do you think? Am I still good to go? Can I still take them, or what do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about capsules, I'm kind of anti-liposomal drops.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know those are like trending right now, like Quicksilver and other ones.
Yeah, and every Whole Foods, pretty much you get liposomal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's BS. It's a waste of money. And the capsules I like because they prevent oxygen from getting to the product. So, if there's any oxidation from the sunflower oil in that old formula, I believe there's plenty of vitamin E to take care of it. So, if it was me, I'd still take it.
So you changed it since then, huh? So the formula has changed a little bit, huh?
Yeah, because people were like, "Why do you have PUFAs in your Puffa Protect?" And I just got tired of that, so I made it. I pretty much copied the Thorn, so their vitamin E, which is just MCT oil with mixed tocopherols.
Okay, and I'm
always open to change.
Yeah. So that's what you have now is you have the MCT and the mixed tocopherols ones. Okay.
Yeah, the one you're holding, I think, is alpha. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there are other ones that are not mixed tocopherol, right? Like some of the crappier vitamin E products. Like, what's the difference? You know what I mean?
It's my understanding that the alpha with the gamma, and I have the studies on my website, inhibit lipid peroxidation stronger than just alpha. I think if you're going to do, if you only have alpha, that's fine. But if you can do alpha and gamma tocopherol together, they have like a synergistic effect of protecting. And I'm kind of an intuitarian, like that's what I've been just the last decade where like I try all sorts of different brands in different situations and see what works. And I've done just the alpha for like a year or two, and then I switched to mixed. And I definitely feel it if I go out to eat. Like my favorite burger joint here, they cook the fries in peanut oil, and like,
of course,
I'm acne prone, and like back in the day, like one meal of those fries, I would have a pimple on my face in like a couple of days or a week.
Yeah, totally.
I never get zits anymore, and I attribute that to the mixed tocopherols.
Definitely. No, I mean, I've had, I've noticed a difference too, just taking them. I don't know, for whatever reason, I just took about half of it, and I don't know, I think I just forgot about it for a minute there, because, I haven't been eating out that much. Like LA has been mostly closed for the whole year. So like, I just had no reason whatsoever to like, eat out or order burgers or whatever. But yeah, if I did, back then I would. So it's awesome, man. So, there's like you have a lot of content out. You have a lot of interviews of people out, but there's not much stuff of you, so I kind of like want to get to know you. Like, were you always, growing up, did you have a moment where you were like, I think I'm going to get into, health and wellness kind of realm and go into that? Or did you have some other things in mind when you were growing up, or what were you looking at?
Yeah, it was mostly, animal trainer. I wanted to be like a zookeeper.
Wow.
Or an astronaut, but I was leaning towards like a zookeeper, or like a marine biologist. And it makes sense because I love animals and they're related to health, right? And now I'm getting into like hunting, and I still love animals, but yeah, it wasn't, I always reference my Aikido class in high school. So it was like my freshman year of high school. I took Aikido for a year, and my sensei was just like a trippy, like atheist stoner. And he recommended
always. It's always the Aikido guys that are like that. It's so true though. Or like the Tai Chi Kung Fu guys. Yeah,
Yeah, he was like a huge Star Wars fan, and he recommended a Zeitgeist to me, and I watched that. I think in 2006,
yeah.
and then that like spiraled me for like 4 years, and I was just on this YouTube just truth searching thing,
Mm.
and then it took me like 4 years to, I was diving into like the Federal Reserve and the fiat currency and
Sure,
like
sure. Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
just all the
This is like back in the
wars and
days when YouTube was like actually something really interesting, I think, right? Where it's not just like now it's just what I found lately, dude, it's just people that have these massive channels that copy other people's videos and paste them to their own video and they just talk about other people's videos. Like it's like 90% of YouTube nowadays. It's I don't know. It's just really, I'm so like drawn away from it nowadays. I don't know, man. It kind of sucks. I miss the good old days of Zeitgeist and all those like NASA documentaries and shit like that, right?
yeah, I think BitChute has some good stuff on it now. I usually go to that,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
there's some garbage, but
Yeah, I've been popping
yeah.
up on there. And so what? And so you just kind of maybe saw some videos and started getting into the health realm?
Yeah, so I found juicing, and I found raw veganism like a lot of us do back then,
Yeah, yeah.
and I switched basically from uh, processed food vegetarian to about 80% raw vegan overnight. So I
Wow.
was like an unhealthy vegetarian, and I made the huge leap to raw vegan. And I was 100% raw vegan for like 3 months, but it was, I was still eating pasta and
Mm-hmm.
and,
Here and
and
there.
cooked food here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then it was like 3 or 4 years of that I I just wasn't feeling as strong, and I was just kind of like, wow, I kind of lost my masculinity,
Mm.
and I just didn't feel in tune with that. And so I just had the intuition to buy some ground bison, made a bison burger at home, bit into it, my brain lit up, and then from there I was just implementing, pastured eggs because I didn't know there was such thing as healthy animal products, like a lot of vegans don't know.
Right.
So I was sourcing from small farms, and yeah, basically just went back and forth to vegetarian and meat eating probably about 5 times because I just was trying so hard to not eat animals because
Mm.
it was like a spiritual thing. And I think
Yeah,
we
so I
could
was gonna
still
ask you, was it a spiritual thing or was it this is, like dead animals sitting in your body, toxic waste thing, or what was it for you?
it was mostly spiritual. Yeah. Cause I
Mm.
was aware of Weston A. Price and I looked into all the research and, cholesterol not causing heart disease and saturated fat being protective.
Mm-hmm.
And it all made sense. And I was always just like, well, I still think there's a better way, like energetically or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like as biophotonic electromagnetic beings or whatever.
Sure.
And yeah, I tried every variation. I mean, you name it. I did high fat, low fat. I did 80, 10, 10.
Oh,
I
that
did
fucking
liquid.
guy. He lives up here in Malibu. What's his name? Remind me of his name, Matt. Um,
Um, what is
Dr. something, right? Yeah,
Doug Graham.
yeah,
Doug
you
Graham.
got it. That's the guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've met him actually one time too. I didn't like introduce myself, but I just met him and yeah, interesting fella.
Yeah, and I was going to a lot of conferences. So in that time span, I was telling you, I was going to like the Raw Living Expo, which
Mm.
that used to be big, and I met characters like Lou Corona, and it was actually Dan McDonald that I still think he's good at heart, but
Yeah.
he's Hawaii, and he was the one that basically is responsible for starting me on the health journey. And he talks a lot about gratitude and love and just the emotional aspect of health, which I really resonated with.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and that's
So you
basically
you must have gone to like some raw fruit festivals or whatever, yeah, or no? Did you go to any of those? I never got the chance. I've
I,
always actually wanted to go, and it just would never work out with my schedule because like around here, there's a lot of those in the last 10 years. There was a bunch of them. The best ones were in Hawaii, right, and like Costa Rica, I think. Did you go to any of those?
I wanted to. The Woodstock Fruit Festival was the big one,
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. That's Michael, the fruitarian guy, right? Michael something.
Yeah, he drives like a Lambo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, exactly. He was the most interesting to me, right? I remember watching his videos, and it's like, wake up 6 a.m. I'm gonna not eat anything, and then he fucking runs to work. He at that time he was living in like upstate New York somewhere, right? And then he later moved on to Hawaii. But at that time he was living in upstate New York, and he would run to New York City like fucking 12 miles, work all day, have like a big fruit meal, and then run back. And he would do that 5 days a week. And I mean, he was like literally a stick. I mean, people sometimes say that, that people are, but he was literally so skinny, to the point where I was like, how the fuck is this guy alive? I mean, it's unbelievable to me that he lived, honestly. I mean, I couldn't believe it because, if sure he was like shredded, but he was not, it's kind of like that thing, like, six pack on a skinny guy is kind of like big tits on a fat girl. It doesn't really count. You know what I'm saying? So, so
Yeah,
I just couldn't believe it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have fruitarian friends still. I'd say one. I only know of one that's quote unquote successful,
Uh-huh.
and he can debate people that believe in evolution. He's a creationist,
Mm.
and he's really intelligent, and he's 100% fruitarian. I think he incorporates like coconuts though, so he gets some saturated fat.
Yeah.
But he's a former MMA fighter, raw mat. I've wrestled him. It's pretty strong. It's
Wow. Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
good.
it's not to say like you can't do it. I'm sure you can do it. I mean, but this guy was just a fruitarian. He was like the OG. I think he had that name, right? Like the fruitarian. I remember watching some of his videos and just kind of being shocked. I honestly back then I didn't really believe him. I was like, "There's no way he's just eating fruit." I mean, no way. You know?
Yeah, and it's funny now what I know from learning from Ray Pete and just this community that how important animal protein is, or like liver function and just total body, thyroid hormone conversion, just the whole thing.
Hmm.
And you see like the extremes, right? The carnivore on one side and the raw vegans on the other. It's like
Totally.
they're both missing a really important piece, and that's really been my journey the last decade of just always coming back into balance. Because you might
Yeah.
have seen me done some of the biohacking stuff, and I've always been interested in extreme longevity because I've heard of the 256-year-old guy and
Hmm.
these people in China that have lived
Hmm.
beyond what we imagine is possible.
Yeah.
And I just I think we have the capability now, but it's been a spiritual journey for me now, realizing that there's a huge community aspect, like like it's not like physical health is such a small aspect of it. It's like if you want to live a long, healthy life, the most important thing to me at this point is like keeping your stress low
Hmm.
or being able to rebound from stressful events.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Like Kyle Moonis and I talked about this too a little bit. We didn't quite go so deep into it, but yeah, it's like you're not gonna have the best diet and like be so stressed out of your mind and be healthy. Like you just won't. It's really hard. Maybe it'll help you mitigate some of that stress, but yeah, man. I mean, there's something to it, right? Where you see like homeless dudes that are like eating 1 or 2 meals a day, but they're just chilling all day and they look pretty fucking good, right? And so I mean, I think I totally agree with you, man. I think it's such a huge aspect, and nobody really talks about it. And do you think it's because you can't really sell that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't sell you a community, kind of, right? I mean, I guess I can. I can start a festival or something like that, but you know what I mean? Is that kind of why you think people don't talk about it so much?
absolutely. Yeah. And that's something I was meditating on before we started talking is the whole selling aspect of when you get into health. And it's unfortunate because you have people preying on other people, either selling products or their detox program or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I think so, it's not like money isn't inherently evil. I used to believe that. And that's when I was the most broke I've ever been in my life. I think it's a tool, right?
I'm with you, brother. I get it. Totally.
But yeah, the free stuff is really where it's at. Like I've actually been obsessed the last week. Once again, it's been full circle with earthing or
Hmm.
grounding. I don't know if you've ever looked at like Clint Ober's work
Yeah,
and that being the barefoot thing. It's
definitely.
starting to think that's really overlooked again.
Oh, I'm with you on that. But you know what? There's some companies out there that are selling now these little, I don't know, rods or whatever you want to call them that go inside your shoes. Have you seen those? Yeah, and they attach to the outside of your shoe and they touch the ground, and so you're kind of getting your grounding all day through that. I mean, I don't know if it works, but I mean, it's a cool idea. I think like why not, right? I mean, because it's so true. I mean, how many people just don't touch anything like that's from the fucking earth throughout the day, And it's funny. I was living out here the other day at a park, in Los Angeles, and yeah, I live in like in a kind of a city, but I'm towards the beach area, so I don't really go to the city part. But anyway, I'm at the park and like I put some rings up, some gymnastics rings to do some pull ups and dips on them, and yeah, one of the rangers is like, "Don't touch the trees. You can't do that, sir. Take that out." I mean, that's the world we're living in, though, right? Like, it's a fucking park. I mean, that's kind of what it's made for. It's not like I'm tearing the tree down, right? It's not like I'm chopping it down, It's But how many people just don't go outside and don't touch anything, right? Besides their car, I mean, steering wheel, computer, right?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I moved up here to North Idaho, because it kind of for like I have no excuse to not go outside because it's just beautiful. There's backwoods behind my house, and granted,
Totally.
there's grizzlies and mountain lions have to always be strapped, but still.
Shit, man, I can't imagine. Have you had any like
Yeah,
attacks or anything like that? Not you personally, but I mean, have you heard of any sightings, attacks recently or anything like that?
I have heard. I was tracking a spring because there's seasonal springs up here, which is really fun because I'm like a water fanatic, and I just really fascinated by water in general. And
Mm.
yeah, certain times of the summer, there's actually springs that are flowing down off like the walking path.
Mm.
And last year, I walked up. Me and my girlfriend were following the spring up to try to find the head, and we got about halfway up, and then we heard like a deep like growl, and we were like,
Oh
"Okay,
shit.
I forgot my gun. We better turn back."
Oh shit, man. It's funny you say that. I just literally the other day shared a video on Instagram of this Russian guy in the middle of a street, full blast running away, and there's a bear coming right behind him. And then the guy crosses the street, and the bear gets hit by the bus, and then it disappears. So it must have just got hit and runs off. But yeah, man,
Wow.
in deep places like in Russia and Siberia, very common, dude. There's I don't know how many deaths, but there's a few deaths a year at least from bears. So it's a legit thing. People don't know.
Yeah, one of my favorite documentaries is Grizzly Man. I really love that
Oh,
one.
it's the best, dude. It's the best. The most, what do you call it? Like the best accidental comedy documentary ever, right? Rest in peace. No offense, but I love that guy. Yeah, man. Have you seen
Yeah.
have you seen Werner Herzog's other documentary about Russia, Siberia?
No,
Hunters.
what's it called?
It's called Happy People. You should check it out, man. It's about
Okay.
guys just live in the woods, and all they do is just hunt and track for months at a time because it's so hard to get in and out. So they're just living out there, and they have the only things that that are like kind of modern thing is like they have like a chainsaw and a snowmobile, and everything else, food, it's all brought in. They leave it there, and then like crops or whatever, and then they just hunt meat and they save the fur, and it's pretty cool. But it's pretty cool to see like a different like how little they need to just kind of feel happy and all right.
Right.
It's a good little documentary. So yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of been my life because I slept on magnets for like the last maybe 4 or 5 years, like the static, like a 20 Gauss magnetic pad, and it was a
Interesting.
little better than the Niken, better designed,
Hmm.
but I think it tired me out. I think I overdid it. To your point of simplicity,
Hmm.
that's been kind
Hmm.
of my theme this year so far. And I rolled it up. It's like a 200 pounds, and I put it in another room, and I've been grounding, and I feel so much better. Like
Hmm.
I'm seeing my heart rate variability track up. I'm sleeping deeper. So yeah, sometimes simpler is better. I mean, I think there's a place for complexity, but we should always
And
uh,
exploration. Yeah, man, I'm all
right,
for it.
right.
So how do you do grounding? I mean, are you so you're using a lot of the blankets, or you're saying you're just literally going outside, or doing both? What's your deal?
Yeah, it's my understanding that when we sleep's the most important time to do it, just because we're laying there regenerating. We have the astrocyte cells making frequencies that are going down to different tissues and resonating them to heal.
Hmm.
So it's an electrical process that requires energy, and the Earth offers energy in the form of negatively charged electrons,
Hmm.
and they move from an area of high concentration, like the Earth, to an area of low concentration, and it gets electrons from the sun, but also from lightning strikes. And what I did is and I've been doing this for like a decade, just put a rod into the earth, just hammer it in to the dirt. And
Mm.
ideally it's moist, or you keep it moist like once a week. If it's really dry, it's good to just, with a water pitcher, just go out and pour it over.
Mm.
And I just put it through my window, and yeah, it's just silver
Wow.
embedded grid.
Yeah,
And
man. That's
I even take it a
awesome.
step further with lodestones. It's just like a earth magnet.
And
It's
what do you do?
magnetite.
So you just put them around there, or what do you do?
Put them on the silver grid, and you can actually take like a voltmeter and
Hmm.
measure the voltage when just by touching, like touching the silver grid on the sheet and then putting a lodestone rock, let's say like a 10, 15 pound lodestone rock on the silver anywhere on the sheet, and you measure your volts, and it'll actually increase 5 to 10 times. And the cool thing is we know it's safe because it's just natural magnetism. We're not using a device.
Right. I was gonna say, yeah, and there's nothing, there's because it's from the ground basically, right? So, which people don't know has natural, volts and all that stuff. Oh fuck, that's interesting, man. I wish I could do that out here, but not living in an apartment. I can't just fucking put a stick down in the ground.
I did it. I recommend it. It was my first apartment in Pacific Beach, Southern California. I was on the second story, and I threw it out the window. I had to knock on the guy's door. It was like a tweaker guy, and he let me walk through his house to his backyard. And I hammered it in the dirt.
Wow, that's fucking interesting, man. So you spent some time down in Southern California then, huh?
I was there about 30 years. Yeah, and worked a lot of jobs. I was doing a lot of Whole Foods, Costco demos. Did coconut water, did different jerkies, and I was always kind of in the health scene, but kind of a little worker bee. Like I wasn't like an influencer or whatever that means. But I'm glad it wasn't, because I was still of the raw vegan mindset, and I was like, eating dead flesh and all that. I'm glad I took time before I took a good 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So many people just jump right in, right? And they're just like fucking, they got the perfect Instagram going, lots of followers. And then maybe hopefully a few years later, they change their mind, but I don't know. I mean, it's good, right, to be open to changing your mind. I mean, there's a balance, like you said, right? It's not like you don't want to be the guy that's changing their mind every 2 days, and you got to have some sort of opinion. But it's good to be open. I think it's really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely done it with spiritual beliefs and with nutrition and my idea on detoxification in general, my ideas of longevity, like Ray Peat and Adam Bergstrom really helped me look at longevity a different way. Just knowing what lipofuscin does to the lysosomes of the cell and what it does to autophagy. That, not to say you can't do autophagy, but it's really impaired if you have this, iron glycated mess of iron, estrogen, and PUFA breakdown products stored in the garbage recycling center, one of the major ones of the cell, the proteasomes, the other one. So yeah, it's there's always stuff to learn, but I feel like I've connected enough dots, especially the last 2 to 3 years, where it's really starting to make sense. And now I have more of a foundation to work from.
Yeah, it's good to have kind of a well-rounded approach, right? So you were saying you started eating meat and incorporating that, but kind of on and off, like which I've done also too, where I was like vegetarian, then I was kind of like, I don't know, and then back and forth, and then, so how did you get into Ray Peat's work? Was it like an article that you read, or you heard about him through somebody else, or what?
It was a nervous breakdown. So I actually did.
Interesting. I love it. Let's hear it.
So there's a character that I learned about through, you might have heard of Marcus Rothkranz. It sounds like you know a lot of characters.
Not this one, though. No, I don't know.
Okay.
Tell me about him.
He's a prominent raw vegan. He used to be like a Hollywood special effects guy. And he has a pretty huge YouTube channel, but he's all about alkaline diet. He's never changed. He's very against cooked food. And he interviewed a guy on his show named Noon Amen Ra, like an Egyptian name. And it's like this big, bulky African-American dude. And I just watched that interview. It was like a 30-minute interview, like probably 10 times. And it sounded really intelligent. And it was basically like this cult kind of personality that created this program of living, this lifestyle that, in a nutshell, if I had to summarize it, essentially is 1 hour eating window a day forever, indefinitely. So 23 hours.
I would click stop at that point. And not because like I have the science or whatever to back it up. I just know myself, bro. Like I love eating. I'm a fatty at heart, so it would be so hard for me to do that. Yeah. So anyway, so he was saying to eat 1 hour, a 1 hour window a day, right?
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, there are like 4 basic components. So that's one. Then the second one is like a vegan diet. which is mainly soy and bean based, and I did all this.
Oh
And then,
man. Oh man. You went fucking full force. Talk about going full in, right? Oh man.
and then the third one, get this, is heavy weightlifting, like deadlifts. Like I was doing, I don't know,
Jesus
4 times my body weight. I mean, it was heavy, like pretty much every day. I wasn't taking a day off of weightlifting.
Smart. That's what I would do.
And then the
That's
fourth
real
one's
good.
like, and there was like meditation every day. I think like, yeah,
Oh
I did like
well.
10 minutes twice a day, you know, just to
So
like
from
try to
being
stay
so
sane.
fucking stressed out, yeah, and like losing your mind, you get 1 hour of meditation to just stay close to that border of like walking in and just shooting everybody up, right? I'm sorry.
It was wild. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I never got violent, but yeah, that was the wildest experiment I've ever done. And there was obviously spirituality mixed in because there was like this ascension vibe that I used to have, you know, trying to gain powers or which have had weird supernatural stuff happen growing up. Like I had a pretty weird childhood,
Hmm.
but it, it I guess it was just coming from the wrong place. Like I was trying to become a superhero to save the world or something weird. It's like a complex.
Sure.
And
No, but I mean, we all go through that. I think if you're full of shit if you've never had any weird thoughts like that, you know.
right.
But you know, we're all evolving at a different level, so a different pace, I guess. So yeah.
Right.
So how long did you do that diet or that whatever program for?
So I dabbled for, I'd say about a year, but I did it strict for 6 months. So I think for leading up to it, I had like a 3 hour eating window. And then, you know, 3 is good, 2 is better. And so I kept narrowing it down until I got to that one.
Of course. It's always
And I
like
would
that, right?
and I would even set a timer on my phone. And
Oh man.
yeah, it was interesting because I was supplementing my own product at the time. So this is where it's weird now knowing Ray Pete because I was living the opposite of what he recommends and talks about
Mhm.
while I was megadosing my own omega-3 algae oil product. And there were some days where I took 30 grams. I just took it like a shot.
Yeah, I've been there and done that, but not with algae. I've done it with actual fish oil. There's a very famous strength coach called Charles Poliquin, and he would recommend 30 to 60 grams of fish oil a day, and I've done that. And I had the worst burps and shits of my life. So, I mean, you know, whatever you want to say about the science, I don't care. It makes you feel awful.
Do you know what age he died at, Charles?
Yeah. He just died like a couple years ago. Yeah, man. I met him, so you know, I've worked under him. I mean, he has a lot of good stuff, but yeah, you know, nobody's perfect, of course, you know, but yeah, I think it was 54, 57. So there you go. Yeah.
Young. That's
Yeah, brother. I know it was
fortunate.
it was I was already kind of out of that loop for a while, but when he died, it was like another kind of, you know, like another light bulb was like, yeah, you know, sorry guy, you know, my respect to you, but a lot of weird stuff. And then I found out there's another bodybuilder that worked with him. His name is John Meadows.
Mm.
And he doesn't recommend crazy stuff like that, but you know, he has a pretty prominent YouTube channel and influencer. He's just very well known. He's like an OG bodybuilder. Anyway, and then he had a heart attack, and I was like, okay, you know, you gotta like you gotta be careful of who you listen to, you know. And it's not to say that somebody that may have the correct answers can't, you know, recommend you something bad, but
Mhm.
you got to be always aware, like you said. You got to have that balance of like, sure, but I'm open to like another interpretation or maybe another view of that. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. That's why I don't feel bad too much because I was promoting it for 2 years and I was taking it myself. But I think it's more of like a decades of accumulation. You know, you're not going to get a heart attack, obviously, if you take fish oil for a year. But let's say 10 years, 15, 20, it builds up in the system. And yeah, the reason why I got into omega-3, docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, the main one that people are obsessed with, is because of Dr. Jack Cruz, the neurosurgeon. And I was pretty heavy on his program for a good amount of time. And I was living in an RV in my friend's backyard, and I set up like a stock tank with cold water, and I grounded it, and I did noonday sun naked, and I would pre-dose with DHA because I was trying to absorb more photons or whatever.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I was, you know, because his whole thing is, oh, it's good for the retina, and it it synergizes with sunlight, and it's good for the skin, and it synergizes with sunlight, and you basically can absorb more light the more DHA you have, is the basic premise. And because we store it, more is better. And that was my belief system for several years.
As always, right? More is better. 3 hours, so 1 hour must be better, right? Yeah, man. Never go full retard, right? As they say.
Right. Yeah. And what's weird is I feel like the cold baths in the noonday sun, like obviously sunlight's good for us. And you know, I was a video game kid growing up. We played in the chlorinated pool in the backyard, and you know, I played badminton in the grass and stuff. But I'd say maybe 2/3 of my childhood was playing video games inside. Especially in my teen years, it was just full inside, pretty much. So I'd say probably for a good decade, I was light deficient. So I did get benefits just from prioritizing, you know, nude sun exposure. But that's another thing right now. You know, people are. Have you seen sunning their anus and that whole thing starts?
Hey, I'm the certified health nut. Let me pull my asshole out. God, what is it? Oh, man. You bring up so many great points. God. Again, right? Sun is good. So if I can get sun into my asshole, it must be better because it's going deeper in, right? What is it with us? Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I went pretty heavy on the enemas too. I think I did a coffee enema every day for like 6 months at one point, and
my God,
I never did the liver flush. I never did. There's certain cleanses I never did, but I did the turpentine thing. I made a viral video on that. It's still up on YouTube.
Oh man, we have this obsession with like, you know, that the detox thing of like, if something is going out and it's horrible, it's like it must be that you're cleaning out good stuff. Like it couldn't be that just you're feeling horrible because you're just fucking dumping all kinds of nonsense into your body and you're just shitting it back out, and that's why you're feeling horrible. It can't be that. It has to be that you're cleaning out your body. Because I've also done it where you eat like buckwheat. It's sort of a Russian style cleanse. Every Russian would know it. It's like you eat buckwheat for, you know, you can go as long as you want, but, you know, a week or so. And then you take a big giant glass of olive oil, you know, and then lemon juice. And you just shit like zombie atomic nuclear waste shit, you know, and it's just awful. But yeah, let me tell you, I don't think I noticed a difference, okay?
Well, I've interviewed Adam Burks from my show multiple times and asked him about coffee enemas, because I think if you're going to do an enema, it's best to use coffee. But he was saying oral works the same way, and it makes sense, right? I mean, either way you put it in, it's still gonna. I mean,
as soon as coffee touches my lips, I'm running straight to the bathroom. So I mean, I don't see the point of doing the enema. But you've done it Ben Greenfield style, huh? Where you lay on your what is it, your right side, so you can get the liver kind of flushed in. Yeah, you done it like that?
I just always did back, but I did crazies because I'm still friends with Robert Cassar. He was a character. Do you know him?
Oh, definitely, man. Okay. That guy was super vegan, and then he went super eating raw organ meats, right? But I respect him for that because he kind of changed his mind and he's okay with talking about it, which a lot of people are not these days, right?
Yeah, I would say his program I delved the deepest into, and I would say it was a little more intelligently designed. But I was doing like activated charcoal, like this is the enema, activated charcoal, MSM, baking soda. Wow. I think Soleil salt.
That's a bomb waiting to happen. Oh man.
Yeah.
So you've done that. Yeah, he got very big with is it through the Raw Bros? Remember the Raw Bros? Those guys? Yeah. Right. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
And he was all fucking shredded. He just had he's just very good genetics, you know, and he looks really fucking shredded and ripped. So you listen to him, it's like eat only lettuce and whatever the hell else they were eating. It's just like, yeah, okay, I'll do that if I look like that. But he changed his tune.
Blue green algae. Have you seen that elixir, the blue green algae?
Yeah. Oh my God, man. Yeah.
That was my lunch every day for years.
Oh my
it was just that and chia seeds.
Oh my God. I think every vegan should watch this. There's a Swedish movie called Aniara, It's about it's you know it's like a typical like futuristic movie. Like everything is horrible on Earth and we're all gonna die. So we start living on Mars and we have these cruise ships that ship us out to Mars. Okay, inside the cruise ship, it's basically like a mall. You have like they figured out how to do gravity, so you have like food courts and you're just hanging out, and it takes about 3 weeks. Well, anyway, on this particular cruise, shit goes wrong and they have to dump the fuel and they don't know how long they're going to be on this ship. And eventually they start eating this algae because that's the only thing that they have there to eat. So I thought of every vegan. I was like, well, there's your fucking, there's your heaven, they're all just eating this algae that they grow because it's the only thing you can regrow on this ship, and it's just crazy.
Well, it's called Anyara. I love futuristic movies.
Anyara. Yeah, you'd dig it. It's in Swedish
Okay.
though, but it's pretty good for a Swedish movie. It's very bleak, but it's pretty cool. Anyara. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the name.
I'll check it out. Any space movie I enjoy. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's the best one I've seen, and it's hard. Those are hard, But the one thing that's in common, it's always bad on Earth, right? That's one thing. Like I don't know if that's the message that they're trying to get us out to us on purpose or what, like conspiracy theory, whatever, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it is funny, right? There's no like, hey, do you know any futuristic space movie where it's like the Earth is great? Everybody's like, we figured out the problem with pollution. We know how to take care of the plastic. It's always like, it's awful and we got to go somewhere else. And we got to do this awful, some other awful thing to get to this awful other place. It's just crazy.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm not aware of any. Yeah, there's a great YouTube documentary called The Pleiadian Connection. That people have probably heard of the Pleiadians, but it's a story of a guy in Switzerland that had one arm, and I guess he had continuous contact with extraterrestrials, where he literally took photos. Supposedly they took him back and forward in time, and took him to all these different planets, and he had like physical evidence. Pretty interesting. Yeah, what's his name? Stan Meyer, I think it's called Stanley Meyer's story. Yeah.
But the name of the documentary is the Pleiadian, you're saying?
The Pleiadian Connection.
Pleiadian Connection. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the channel's like Earth We Are One, but I like weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, are you into our what's the guy that was on Rogan's podcast a lot, or not a lot, or at least once, or they have a documentary on him on Netflix. The guy, that scientist that worked at Area 51 and then came out.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Are you into that guy?
Yeah, I watched the newer documentary and it was kind of boring. I think the last 10 minutes he was drawing the ship.
Yeah, the one with Mickey Rourke is like narrating it. They try to make it so fucking dramatic, right? Which that guy, Mickey Rourke, he works out at Gold's Gym. He's a character. He's a character. Let me tell you, this guy, he'll wear these like pink women's leggings. I'm not kidding. Okay, and then he'll wear like a punk band like belt, those ones with like little pointy shiny things on it, and then it'll be like this chains all over, and it would just be the randomest combination of stuff, and he's just working out, and he's got all this plastic surgery. Interesting fella.
Yeah, he has an interesting face.
To say the least. Oh man. So you were doing this crazy ass diet, which and then what happened, man? Did you had a moment?
Yeah, so I actually had just moved into a less stressful living situation. I was in like a bad roommate situation and moved on my own, and it was just kind of shifting my beliefs. Just a lot of things were changing, and I just felt that my nervous system was compromised and just very depleted. And I started just binging Ray Peat's articles on his website. And I was reading about, even white sugar, sucrose being beneficial. And it was such a 180 of everything I'd heard, for the whole past 10 years. And so I started adding white sugar to my milk and just starting with that. And then I started taking niacinamide and vitamin E because I heard that helps kind of increase glucose uptake and especially recover from the keto thing. If you did that for a while. And I feel like they both did help with the milk and sugar. And then it took probably maybe about 6 months or so for me to incorporate meat again. And I started eating ground beef, and I was vegetarian for like 2 years prior to that. And I just started to recover and feel stronger and better. And my libido is coming back, which I lost that for quite a while.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my memory was better. Just, the 3 H's: happy, horny, hungry. Like I wasn't hungry waking
Always
up.
a good sign. Yeah, man. But I mean, seriously. I mean, yeah, my lowest point was also like I realized that I was like, I'm not really interested in girls, and like that's weird. You know what I mean? And I was like, and yeah, and then one time I just had some I think I went to like a Jewish deli of all places and had like a big steak, like a kosher steak. And I woke up, pitch tent, and I was like, okay, like this makes sense, and it really did make sense. This is before, like, even before I went, I don't know, searching about this on YouTube or whatever. It was just so intuitive, like you say. I had the same experience. It just kind of made sense in my head, like, yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard that having a libido is a sign of a healthy reproductive system. And if you just think about that logically, that makes sense. Like if you don't have a sex drive, then you're probably not fit to have a healthy child, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So you didn't really quite go that down. It wasn't like a huge disastrous breakdown that you had, yeah, or or what?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt the most mentally and emotionally unstable I've ever felt in my life, because I've always been a relatively peaceful, stable guy. My parents are still together, and I wasn't beaten or anything like that. So yeah, it was just an eye opener to realize the connection between fueling the system with food, but especially carbohydrate and animal protein,
mm-hmm.
and the effect that has on one's emotional stability. And like I tune in now. Like this morning, I was getting ready for the interview. I had my breakfast, and then I milked
mm-hmm.
my goats, and then played with my neighbor's dog, and then I was kind of feeling a little depleted. I'm like, I better eat before this interview. And I had leftover pasta from last night with shredded aged cheese and just pasta sauce and some sea salt.
Mm-hmm.
And right away, like within 10, 15 minutes, I just felt I could feel my cortisol going down. My nervous system just,
mm-hmm.
We all know that feeling after we eat a good meal. We're like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize I was kind of stressed.
Totally. And it can just be a regular day like that, right? Yeah. And, we were talking about Charles Poliquin, and it's like the same thing. Like he would talk about that. He would say like, oh, you should eat your carbs at night because it lowers your cortisol and you can sleep better. And then I remember just thinking like, why wouldn't you just eat them all the fucking time? And it's within proportions, right? I'm not saying be a fatty and just do whatever you want, but like, why wouldn't you eat them all the time? Because from what I know, living, in the city or even outside the city, I mean, just life is stressful, man. It's people are stressed from the moment they wake up. Many people are. Not everybody, of course. There's people that, I don't know, maybe have easier lifestyles, but even people who have lots of money, who have their dream home, whatever, they wake up and it's like, boom, take a call, do an email, drive here, go there, work 8 hours. And it's like, why wouldn't you just constantly give yourself some sort of fuel and definitely some carbohydrate? Because, hey, like you said, most people, almost everybody I've ever talked to, coached, had clients with, I mean, everybody who eats carbs just feels more relaxed almost instantly. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And if you combine certain things with it, like I think you're a big fan of coffee as well.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
It could be a benefit. And it doesn't have to, every post I see every day is like, does coffee give you the jitters? I actually saw an ad for that this morning on Instagram. Here's a coffee replacement, that black drink or whatever they're promoting. But those are the same people telling you to go keto most of the time.
Yeah.
They're like, not the jitters, because we told you to go keto. We'll cut out coffee and buy our product. It's like, it's a trap.
Yeah. Don't have coffee. Have this other thing that looks like coffee, smells like coffee, has some of our vitamins in there that'll make it feel like coffee, but it's not coffee. So it's like, hold on a second here, right? So do you have any special ways that you, do coffee? What's your way to do coffee, man?
Oh, yes. I've come a long way. About, I'd say 2 years ago, I was doing the boutique brands, because I came from the bulletproof thing. So I did like the mold free, there's multiple now brands that are selling like lab tested coffee.
Of course.
I don't know about that anymore. I mean, maybe if someone's on their deathbed, it might be good. I don't know.
Yeah. That's funny.
But but now I just buy green beans. I use a company called Sweet Maria's. And,
Yeah, up in San Francisco, right? Up there in the Bay Area.
yeah, and they
Mm-hmm.
import, and it's actually quite hard to buy green beans direct to your house. I'd say 95% of companies, they require you to have like a reselling license or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, right now I'm on Guatemalan beans, and I have a little Ikawa home roaster. It's kind of an advanced one, but it's easy to use, and it's just small batch. You just press a button, it roasts it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I basically store that in a little vacuum sealer container, because I'm all about the freshness. So I try to time it to where I'm not, my beans that I'd roasted aren't sitting there for a week.
Yeah, boy, it makes a big difference, doesn't it? Like the roasting date, it makes a huge difference. I've said it before too. I've posted about it on Instagram too. Like I would take a non-organic, just regular coffee bean, but that's been roasted maybe today or yesterday, over the most organic, whatever, certified biodynamic, grown by blind children in the Himalayan mountains, like coffee that was roasted 2 months ago. It just makes the world a difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely does. And yeah, I had a friend opened a coffee shop recently in Fullerton. Shout out to Leon, Play Coffee. And I like it because he has a crazy whole house water filtration system that's identical to mine, that I don't know how to sell it, but it injects magnesium bicarbonate in at the end. So it takes out all the acids, all the contaminants, then it injects back in magnesium.
That's
so
awesome.
To me, that's a way to get the ultimate cup of coffee, because the magnesium will kind of balance out if you burn up a little bit of it. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And water quality, fresh roasted beans, those are basically my important things. And I was using a DeLonghi La Specialista espresso machine. You might have saw the drama with that.
Definitely. Oh no, you had some drama with it? I didn't see the drama. I've seen you use it. What happened?
Yeah. Well,
Too much cleaning up?
I bought it refurbished on eBay. I always try to do that when I can to save some money, and maybe that's why, but it kept clogging. Like water would come out of the group head, but when I put the little, I can't remember the name of that handle thing, on there, it would clog and the pressure would max out. So there was a day where I wasted like 10 rounds. I'm like, okay, this thing's going in the trash.
Yeah.
I asked around to friends. And like,
that's common with those, like, some of those that are not the super high end, Italian espresso machines, but the middle ones, they'll do that. Yeah. So I just, you know what? For the price, it seems like it's like the lower quality one, but I just have a Breville, and they're fucking great, man. And they're not the high end. They don't look like super sexy, but I think they do great, man. I love those things, and they never clog. They're easy to clean. Yeah, they're not as sexy as the Italian ones, because I love them the way they look too, though. Right, they're awesome. And if you can get a good shot on them, like if you dial it in, they do a good shot. But I think like an everyday use, Breville does great espresso machines. So is that what you got now, huh?
I'm happy with it. Yeah, I don't know if you have the same one. It's the manual tamper. Like you pull off the little thing and you have to manually tamp it yourself.
It's just hanging right here. Yep.
Yeah.
I think same one. Barista Express, I think that's the name of it.
Yeah, and it has like 3 trays that you can pull out, and then it has a little tool storage in the back, which I just found yesterday. It's pretty cool.
Twinning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's great, and you just if you clean it, I haven't had any problems with it. So knock on wood. But and so with water, like I've kind of come in full circle with water. Well, not really come full circle, but I've gone back and forth with it, because there are a lot of brands and a lot of filters and a lot of all kinds of stuff in the water scene. And I don't know, at some point, honestly, I just got confused, like, because I was like, I don't know who to listen to. I don't know what's the best way to go about it. So I just, I'll just buy some, super ultra, whatever filtered water. But honestly, I don't know. So what's your story with water, man? Tell me, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So as deep as I've gone into different diets and people's protocols and nutrition, I've gone just as deep, if not deeper, into water, not only just research, but actually live in it. And you can go back and see me at springs and at wells. And there was a point where I was living with my parents, and I was doing like, I think 2-hour round trips to pick up well water. Wow. You're probably familiar with the website called findaspring.com. That was trending.
Daniel Vitalis, right? Of course.
Yeah, and there's there wasn't a lot in Southern California. I mean, I think
There's
people were
one. There's one, brother. And it's right here nearby West LA, and it tastes like shit. I'm sorry, but I tried it, so I was like, nope, I'm good. It's this like there's some sort of area which is an Indian reservation or something like that, where it's like it can't be touched. So, and that's the only one around here, and it's fucking weird. I don't know what's the deal, but but yeah, but it doesn't taste that good. So you drive up and try some of that stuff, yeah?
Yeah, there's an equestrian center because I was in Mira Mesa for quite a while, and there's a place called Carlsbad. It's a little, north or whatever. There was a horse equestrian ranch that I would drive to, and I would talk to this lady for hours. She was a character, and she would tell me stories of. She had like a Native American come there when she bought the property, supposedly, and did dowsing. So I guess they hold like two metal rods, and they'll literally swing to a pocket, like an aquifer, like to find where to dig the well. I guess she had this Native American guy come and do his thing. Wow. And so she was like, yeah, the water is magical and it has healing properties, and people with cancer and different diseases have benefited from it. And I don't know if it was placebo, but when I drank that water, the first sip I had, within minutes, my whole body, head to toe, was tingling, like kind of pins and needles. It's like, whoa, okay, I feel something. So the reason why I bring that up is I tried a lot of different locations. I used to drive to campgrounds. I used to go to Palomar. There's a place up Palomar Mountain, if people are familiar with SoCal, where you're driving up and there's a highway marker and you could pull off.
I've drank that water before. I haven't been up there, but I've drank the bottled water. They do it in a glass. It's probably the only one I think around here that I know. Right? It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a little hard. I can't remember the TDS because that's so. There's something called a TDS meter. If people aren't familiar, it's total dissolved solids, and it measures how much dissolved materials in the water in parts per million. And it's just one. People use that as the end all be all. Like, oh, if it's low, the water's good. Not necessarily.
Yeah. I think it's more complicated than that too.
There's acids. I tend to focus a lot on acid rain. I think it's overlooked. And you read EPA articles where, some say it's killing wildlife and destroying fish. And then some say it's completely safe. And then another one says it's eating statues and brick walls. And another one says it's safe. And I mean, it's like, I just err on the side of caution, and that caution is deionization. And so if a reverse osmosis system, I don't care about structuring and all that other stuff that people focus on. I care mostly about removing solids, so lowering the hardness of the water, and then taking out the acids with cation and anion deionization filters.
And then do you put in stuff? Do you put minerals back into the water yourself, or what do you do?
Yes. Yeah, so I used to use the trace mineral drops. Like you might remember, like the blue bottle. I use that, and I just put like a couple drops per 5 gallons. So that's okay. That's a start. As a chloride form, I think it's better if you have a remineralization cartridge. So this is the ideal way to add back in minerals. It's not by hand; it's the filter doing it as the water's flowing through. And ideally, it's magnesium bicarbonate. And if you want to do, calcium, sodium, and potassium bicarbonate, a little bit less than magnesium. I personally believe magnesium's the most important macro mineral in the context of modern world. I know some people, especially in this metabolic community, disagree and think that calcium is more important. But just from what I understand about, multi-mineral calcium supplements that almost every old person is on, and the calcium content, the well water. When I moved to this house, I tested the well water that I'm on right now. It was high in iron and high in calcium. I saw the numbers. And there's so many people they're raised on well water. They're raised on tap water or even spring water. And all three of those could have high iron, high calcium. And so you just think decades of high calcium, that's going to lower the seesaw for magnesium.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, even at least if you're eating some sort of dairy products, it's just easier to find calcium than it is magnesium, right? I mean, you got to drink a lot of orange juice to get like, your daily requirement of magnesium. Now, you may not need it, or that's arguable, but point is it's a lot easier to find calcium, right, than magnesium, just in food in general.
Yeah, and I I've had a return guest on my show. I'm a huge fan of him. I'm having him on again in a few weeks. Is Morley Robbins. He's like the magnesium, iron, copper man. He's
Mm-hmm.
there's 84 plus minerals. There's only 3 that matter: magnesium, copper, and iron. And magnesium burn rate is increased by iron overload and stress and so many things. And I think where the rubber meets the road is with the Mag RBC blood test. So you can it's $30, requestatest.com, and just see your red blood cell magnesium levels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are there potentially other places that show our magnesium that we don't know about yet? Maybe, but that's the most reliable one we know of now. And it's, again, what's the healthy reference range? What's the ideal? That's always a debate with different things,
Sure. Is there a number that you go for that you remember for the magnesium test? I've done them. I've done one a couple times actually. The red blood, because the serum ones are useless, right? From what I understand.
Right. Yeah, because if that drops, you have a heart attack. So the body tightly regulates that.
Right.
I believe under 4, generally a person's going to be pretty sick. Mm-hmm. And I was a 5.7 the last time I checked, but it was last year, I believe, year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. Ideally, you want to be above 6. Mm-hmm. And as always, from what I'm learning, the ideal is kind of a subjective thing. Because what's the ideal lab value? It's, for vitamin D, that's a whole, I've been in debates with that, and I've had people on my show to talk about that, and they've changed the number. Mm-hmm. We know that, it was 12, and then it was 20, mm-hmm. and then now it's, 40 to 100 or whatever.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about that, but before we get there, to finish up on water. So let's say you're, what would you do if you're, what would be your poor man's water advice? Let's say, you're living back in your RV, and, you only can do so much, or you just have, an apartment. What would be your advice to how would you set it up?
I always tell people, especially if they don't have a lot of money to spend, just get a ceramic water crock. And I did this for years. Mm-hmm. And get like a black pillowcase or something dark to put over either a glass carboy, if you want to go all the way. It's for brewing beer. You can get them on Craigslist or get them used wherever. It's a glass 5-gallon bottle. Just don't drop it because you might die.
Might die.
I've almost done it. I almost slipped on shrapnel in my kitchen. Yeah, and I've broken them in the car. So those are a hassle. I mean, if you just barely tap them together, those things crack. So I guess a more practical option is called the Better bottle, and it's a high-end polymer that's used for brewing beer. So it's called Better bottle, and that would be the best way to go. Now, if you don't want to go with either of those two, then BPA free. There's still BPS, and there's
people don't know that, right? When they say BPA free, there's just other BP whatever the fuck's in it. Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole to go down, the plastic stuff, right? Yeah. So,
and for me, it's if there's no acids in the water. I mean, because the acids are what eats things, so it's going to eat the material that you have it in. Mm-hmm. So if it's a good reverse osmosis system that takes out the corrosive acids, then I don't think it's a big of a deal if it's in plastic. Mm-hmm. It's not ideal, but it's still not going to hurt you.
What reverse osmosis system you recommend?
Well, I would say just whatever one someone could afford. Just try to look for one that's at least 6 stages, ideally even 7 stages. I'm working on coming out with my own drinking water filter just because I don't like the options on the market. I don't think they're user friendly or affordable.
Yeah, fucking 100%, brother. 100%. I've gone through those things too, and I was just like, oh man, they're so complicated. They always tell you they're not complicated, but they're so complicated. You got to change all the stuff in them so often. It's really not, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about water. I'm just like, it can be confusing for the average person. That just wants to get some sort of clean water and do something about it.
Yeah, quick tip: I say find a water store. Like there are a ton in San Diego. There's like an OB water store. That's the one I used to go to. Mm-hmm. Or just search water store your town. And sometimes there's an entire water filtration store, and they have things out front when they're closed, and you can go and fill up. And they'll usually have an alkaline and then regular.
Yeah.
whatever. If you can find that, great. If you can't, then find a health food store. Don't go to like your Vaughn's or your whatever CVS, and don't use one of those dispensers. Find a health food store water dispenser, because it's even alkaline, schmalkaline. Just ignore all that. It's probably better than at the regular convenience stores. And just fill up there, once a week, depending on how many people you live with, 10 gallons, 15, 20 gallons. And I did that for years before I could afford my own filter. And if you're going to buy your own filter, I would say just be prepared to spend between $1,000 and $1,500. And after that, you just pay to replace the filters. So it's just a one-time thing, just for the housing, pretty much. And
Yeah, I think it's getting easier, man. Around here, there's a lot of places that have those, machines outside their stores. So, I think most city-ish places, people can find them, and then you just keep them in one of those, like a better bottle you're saying, or like a good, what was the other one that you were saying, the polymer container?
Are you talking about the Carboy, or?
Oh, is that the one? You said the one that you can brew beer in it, that doesn't have the BPA in it and all that
stuff.
Oh,
yeah, that's called the Better Bottle.
Oh, that is the Better Bottle. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're on Amazon or something. But yeah, I used to live on Craigslist, so I bought a lot of my health stuff off there. My first zip-up tent sauna was on Craigslist. My first trampoline was on Craigslist.
That's cool.
Or rebounder. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going full Dave Asprey there for a second. Slow down. Okay, cool.
But yeah, it's a big deal. I used to work at a juvenile detention center for 4 years. I was a substitute teacher, and one of the other subs, he was an engineer, and we would have almost debates because he was on tap water, and he would say that's he drinks it because it's environmentally friendly, and I was trying to get it in his head, like, dude, like it's hard water, like there's a lot of stuff in that, and there was just like this kind of glaze over his eyes. I mean, there's always these jokes about people that drink tap water, but it's real.
Yeah. He's probably the triple masker type of guy. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't, so somebody tells me that, that's cool. That's awesome. God bless you. You just can't do it, because there's just some people. Yeah. It's just gonna go over. I don't know. I mean, look, in Russia, we say anything that's good isn't free. All right. It's simple as that to me. It's free water. I mean, it sounds good. I mean, are you going to die tomorrow if you have a cup of water from your sink? Of course not. Nobody's saying that.
Yeah. And I also want to make the point, don't be like orthodox about your water. Like, I've been to Yosemite National Forest a few times, and there's some beautiful springs there. I think Fern Spring is a cool one. And if I'm traveling and I find a spring, it's kind of like trying a new restaurant. Of course, I'm going to drink the water. I don't think about acid rain. I don't care, because I'm traveling. So same thing. I just want to make that caveat. Like, don't be neurotic about it. Like, if you're at a restaurant, I mean, I'll sample the tap water. Okay, that's chlorine's a little stronger here, Yeah,
but the tap water they give you at restaurants, it's almost like they put extra chlorine in there, right? Have you noticed that, or is that just me? It's so funny, right? Like, just gonna get a cup of water, and it's like the most chlorinated water at restaurants. It's crazy. It's so funny. Do you have like a go-to bottle of water that you buy? Like, let's say you're flying through the airport and you want some water to do whatever. Do you have like a go-to that you go for?
Yeah, smart water for sure. I see most people buy Dasani, and that contains, I mean, it's so funny we have an ingredient list for water, right? It's like, that's where we're at.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, bro. Yeah.
But Dasani, you look at the ingredient list, it's magnesium sulfate. Great, that's what people do for the gallbladder flush. You do grapefruit juice and you drink your Epsom salt, and then it makes you go to the toilet. And I've experienced that. I was at a Metallica concert with my brother, and they only had Dasani. It's like, okay, great. I'm either dry fasting or diarrhea. Okay, I guess I'm going to choose diarrhea.
Yeah. And brother, every concert, I don't know why. I don't know if, Dasani is owned by Coke, right? Maybe it's just money thing. At least here, the same thing. Anytime I go to a bar or restaurant or concert and I want a bottle of water, it's always Dasani. And whatever. It's just, forget about all the, stuff that it has in it, which it does. I agree with you. But it just tastes like shit to me. That's the worst one. I'm always like shocked. It's always Dasani. I don't know, what is it with that brand?
Yeah, smart water is cool because it's reverse osmosis, and I think it has potassium bicarbonate in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it has chloride. I think it has magnesium chloride, which is an ideal. But the potassium bicarbonate thing's pretty cool because that's very beneficial for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what I used to do is bring a little packet or a little amount, and you have to kind of be careful. Unless, I mean, if it's a white powder in a Ziploc bag, I don't know how that looks. But if you can get magnesium hydroxide, there used to be a company I use that sell these little to-go packets, and you can make your own magnesium bicarbonate. So I'd look for cold, sparkling water in plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then at my seat while waiting for the plane, I would pour that in, shake it up, and then I would have a magnesium bicarbonate concentrate. But now I don't worry about it. I mean, it's kind of a lot of work. And
very cool. That's a pretty safe one then. Okay, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So about vitamin D. Well, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, right? People just kind of want to pick teams and stay on their side, and they're sometimes just not open to interpretation. And so you, Georgia Dinkov, Danny Roddy, Kate Deering, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Had the great vitamin D debate recently, right? Where you guys talked about vitamin D. Well, first I want to ask you, like, after having that chat, did you change your mind about something, or maybe you started thinking about something differently, or you're still kind of in what you think right now is that, vitamin D, maybe you shouldn't supplement it?
Yeah, I'm still of that belief that it's not necessary to supplement it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like that Georgie and Danny emphasize the topical application, because from what I've looked into, that's completely safe versus orally consuming it. Just rubbing it on your skin, there's a mechanism where your body can choose how much it absorbs. And so you can't overload on it in that way. But yeah, I mean, I'm always open to changing. I just, it's one less supplement to take. That's one benefit. But my main thing is just looking at it from a practical standpoint. Like, before we had vitamin D supplements, like, what would we do in the winter? It's a seasonal variation molecule. So just to back up here, just for context, a lot of people just say vitamin D and they think that's it. It's just
this one thing that just goes in, and it's vitamin D, and it says vitamin D on it. It has a little D letter on it. Yeah.
And I thought that I used to supplement it a lot. And so that's D3. So the supplement is D3.
Mm-hmm.
And that converts in the body, it's magnesium that does that, by the way, to 25D. And then that converts to 125D. And they both do something, because that's part of the debate. And I think I was trying to be pigeonholed. They're like, well, you're saying 25D is inactive, but look at this study and this study. And no, I never said it's inactive. They do different things.
Right.
But it's really 125, that second metabolite that has the immune benefits of activating the macrophages and basically having basically activating the warriors in our system. That's from the 125D.
Mm-hmm.
And where my mind started to really open up was learning that in sick people, 125D is high and 25D is low. Because you wouldn't think that. You would think like both of them would be low. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, the average person would probably think it's just one thing, right? They wouldn't even think, right? They would just think that vitamin D is high or low. There's no variability. There's no precursors. There's nothing that's there, right? Yeah. And that's important, I think, too, man, because most people do not know that, don't understand that.
Yeah, just to get and actually in Germany they look at the ratio between 25 and 125D to determine how healthy someone is, and so under 2 is good. So you divide the 25D, you divide the 125D by the 25D, and if you're under 2, you're healthy. If you're under 1.6, you're even better. That just means your body's not inflamed. So when you're dealing with like Epstein-Barr or Lyme disease or some type of chronic infection, that's going to raise your 125. That's quote unquote a sick person. And if that person takes D3, there's a high probability, it's not in stone, but there's a very high probability that that D3 will increase their 125. It's already too high because there's a cap, like 70. So where I'm coming at with this whole discussion is just, okay, let's just be careful about this, and let's get it from UV light or food, from dairy or from a UV ultraviolet light or from the sun.
Yeah.
And
when doctors test it, what are they testing? They're testing that first curve that you're talking about, or the 125?
That's a good question. They're testing the 25. And what's funny is there's sulfated and unsulfated form, and there's D4, D5, D6, D7.
Right. It's not that simple. Yeah, like we all want it to be. And it's not to confuse people, right? Like you said, it's just, we all want to break things down into a simple and understandable thing. But the thing is, like you said, you mentioned milk. I mean, raw milk does have some vitamin D in it, right? I don't know how much is in it, but pasteurized milk gets D3 added to it. So do you generally tell people to try to avoid that and buy, because I don't know if people know, if it's not whole milk, right? If it's 2%, 1%, whatever, it gets the vitamin D3 added into it, and if it's whole milk, it doesn't. So do you tell people to just generally try to stay away from that and not get extra D3 in their milk?
I do. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because that's a law that they're required to fortify it with. So that's where usually, driving to a farm, I used to just Craigslist it and find small homesteads where I'd go and pick up goat's milk in glass with a giant cooler. It's not very practical, but it works. And if that's their only option, because there's a lot of, I would say the benefits of fortified D3 milk could possibly outweigh the detriments of that added D3. It's just they probably want to balance it out with, I'd say, magnesium, just to make sure they're supplementing magnesium, not supplementing calcium, obviously, and ideally eating beef liver and oysters, just to help with that mineral balance. Because it's interesting, because I've been studying calcification for a long time, and that's why I created like my CLF protocol, like calcification, lipofuscin, fibrosis. And D-supplementation can cause hypercalcification of the soft tissues.
Right. Which is why a lot of times they'll say have K2 with your vitamin D, right? Because it helps with that. And it is funny. I've always also sort of questioned that too. It's like, so take this, but don't take it unless if you have this. So it's like, why should I just, like all things, right? It gets super complicated.
Yeah, and that's because K2 carboxylates or activates osteocalcin. So when you supplement D3, you need your osteocalcin is increased, but then you need more K2 to carboxylate it. And so, it's like, to me, I make the analogy, it's like taking fish oil or algae oil with vitamin E. It's like, why not just take vitamin E?
Yeah. Well, and from like a practical point of view or clinical point of view, have you had experiences? Have you had people tell you that they've maybe stopped taking vitamin D3 and felt better or have had better, overall health?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of those messages, and they're beneficial, to hear anecdotes, but you never know what else they were doing. So it's always tricky, but I've heard it enough where, my message is don't take this supplement, take this one. And I think that's where people can see their needle, or their health needle improve, is by cutting out the wrong supplements. And I usually say, zinc, ascorbic acid, omega-3s, vitamin D. I call those like the 4 horsemen of the supplement apocalypse. And, there's probably more.
I like that. Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah. But those are, you're saying those cover a pretty big chunk there.
Yeah. And it's because those imbalance other things that we're already deficient in.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you cut out those things that are draining, like I would say a lot of people are already K2 deficient. A lot of people are already magnesium deficient, already vitamin E deficient.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can start to see really quick changes in the body, especially if you support your metabolism and you don't do the fasting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Just big. So
yeah.
if I threw you on a deserted island, and you could only take 2 supplements with you, let's say 2, what would they be?
Oh, it's a good one. Probably magnesium and shilajit,
Oh,
or
so there's a little curveball there.
or vitamin E and shilajit. Yeah, shilajit to me is pretty foundational at this point. I've taken that for many years, and I think it's incredible what it does to overall health.
Hmm.
So
Well, tell me more
uh,
about it, man. I've had some experiences with it where I've been to acupuncturists. It's really big in the kind of Asian community, Asian medicine, and all that kind of stuff. I've had it recommended to me. I've had a really good experience with it one time where I had I don't know if I ate something, but I just was having some sort of stomach problems, and I drank it in some tea. I got the kind of waxy stuff, and I felt better like instantly, man. It was really wild. So yeah, tell me more about it, man.
yeah, so it's basically condensed plant and animal matter over thousands of years in high elevation mountain ranges around the world. So usually products will be from the Himalayas. You'll see Himalayan shilajit,
Hmm.
but it's also found in the Rocky Mountains. Product that I sell is from Siberia and Russia, the
Oh,
Siberian
represent.
mountains.
I didn't know that. Represent, brother. I didn't know that. Cool. And so you buy directly from this Russian Siberian
Yeah.
company and get it shipped out here.
Yes,
Wow.
I import it, so I'm not just reselling a U.S. source. I actually import it from Russia. It takes a while. There's hoops to jump through, and I've gotten kind
Wow.
of in trouble here and there. So, uh,
Don't worry, we'll send some Russians on the way to help you out. The mafia's been
yeah,
watching you.
and I feel it. I feel that it's better than the Himalayan stuff because that's the majority of the shilajit you find. 90% of it's from the Himalayan mountains,
Hmm.
and pretty much what it is in a nutshell is 84 uh, carbon bonded minerals. So it's organic minerals.
Hmm.
Um, it even contains copper in its active form, ceruloplasmin, but indium, all of these like weird minerals that we're not getting anymore.
Hmm.
But most importantly, it contains fulvic acid, which chelates and complexes a lot of stuff in our body called divalent and monovalent atoms. But essentially, if you have iron overload, it'll have an effect. You can look up shilajit and anemia, and you'll see
Mm.
studies of it in anemia. Also with iron overload, I don't think there's been like a study spelling it out, but it's pretty clear if you just look at the chemistry of how it works that it will chelate excess iron from your body, which is kind of priceless. Like that's like the antidote because other than blood donating
Hmm.
or balancing it out with copper, which regulates the iron, like
Hmm.
with oysters and beef liver, bee pollen, or whole food vitamin C, like from fruit or potatoes, uh, shilajit is a really powerful way. I mean, because
Yeah, there's not much else you can do, right? You can either donate blood, be a woman, right? Have a period, maybe that helps too, right? Or just take something. Yeah, there's not a lot of things that do that, right?
absolutely,
Hmm.
yeah. And to me, it's been like kind of like the red pill in the Matrix. Might sound kind of sales pitchy, but that's been my experience. Like, because I've taken a lot of nootropics over the years.
Hmm.
You know, seen A and I don't know, saffron and all these like different nootropics, and
Hmm.
nothing's compared to shilajit. I'll generally take like a gram with my coffee,
And how much
and
is a gram in the pill? So the ones that you get from Russia, are you saying these are the pills? They're
yeah,
pills, one each. What's a gram in those?
yeah. So there's no capsule; it's just the resin compressed into a tablet, and
Yeah.
then you just pop it out. And each one is 200 milligrams. So 5 of those is 1,000 milligrams or a gram,
Hmm.
and that is kind of like a megadose, and that could cause issues potentially because it's a very powerful heavy metal chelator. So I never recommend someone just jumps in with 5 unless they're relatively healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But just for a regular person that has a ton of aluminum in their brain, or lead, or mercury,
Yeah.
a lot of people have aluminum poisoning. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, dude, and it's in salt. I posted something about salt the other day, and I was looking at some studies and some analysis of mineral salts, and dude, they're all filled with aluminum, and it's just all cadmium, all kinds of shit, and
Yep.
I agree with you on that one, man.
Yeah, silica is actually, I really like looking into the relationship between minerals.
Mm-hmm.
And on the seesaw of aluminum, aluminum's on one end, silica's on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's actually liquid silica supplements you could buy.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't get the little droppers because those are garbage, but there's like orgono silica, which I took off and on. This is like bamboo silica.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a very safe aluminum detox because it'll just displace it, because silica is pretty close chemically to aluminum.
Interesting. Interesting. Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, it's a potentiator of herbs. So if you take, like, I put lion's mane or cordyceps in my coffee, put like 3,000 milligrams.
Yeah. Those things are huge right now. And talking about the Russians, it's so funny. Like for me, chaga, when I was like 5 years old, I've heard of chaga. Like it's very common in Russia, and people actually get it from the tree. They let it harden up, this mushroom, and then you just scrape it off, and then you can make a tea with it, all kinds of shit. It's really huge right now in America, I think, like with all the supplement industry, right? I think cordyceps mushrooms and lion's mane, right, and all those sort of things. So do you fuck around with those? You like those?
I have over the years, and fortunately I never went for the cheaper brand, or the brands with heavy marketing, because the medicinal mushroom brands with the heaviest marketing, and in the health food store you'll know because it's at eye level, those are trash. And
yeah,
I don't.
So let's talk about him then. What's his name? What's the guy that wears the fucking mushroom hat? You know what I'm talking about. I know you know, right? I knew it right away. What's his name?
Stamets 7.
Yeah. Right. So first of all, those are popular, and all the studies that people constantly post and talk about, right? The benefits of the mushrooms. It's all from the actual mushroom. What do they call that? I can't remember right now.
The fruiting body.
The fruiting body, right? But then you look at Stamets's supplements, and it's all from the stem, right? It's not from the actual body of the mushroom. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, it's a sleight of hand trickery. It really sucks because it's going to disenchant a lot of people. I think that's part of the plan. Alternative health field has been kind of infiltrated many years ago, maybe in the 80s or something. So
100%. Seriously, though, I totally agree with you, man. Mm-hmm.
I believe that's the plan, just to make people disenchanted. Say, "Oh, mushrooms didn't work for me. I tried them for 10 years." It's like, well, what brand? Did you try? Because as you mentioned, they're diluted to. It's not just a stem, but they actually cut it like a drug dealer with starch. So
rice starch, right? Rice starch, right? Because I went full board on that stuff too one time, and I was like, I don't know, man. And then I started looking into it, and I was like, this isn't even the same thing that because in your mind, again, it's like you're taking this capsule that has powdered mushroom in it, right, and all that good stuff, and it's not even that, and it has a bunch of starch in it, and you don't even know. So yeah, it's really confusing, that whole world with the mushrooms.
Yeah, there's 2 companies, Real Mushrooms. I met them at a few health conferences. They're the real deal. And then Alpha Dynamics. Those are the 2 that I know are legitimate, and they have lab tests, and it's not diluted. And I actually got my neighbor here on lion's mane, and now he thought it was crack. He's like, what? He ordered one. But yeah, I mean, I'll cite, there'll be days where I don't take it. It's just if I make my coffee brew, I'll mix in 3,000 milligrams of it. But yeah, I actually harvested chaga on the street because I have some birch trees around here.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, man.
I feel it when I drink it. When it's slow and low. I think a lot of people forget it's not like a tea bag where you hot steep it instantly. You want to do like at least a 12-hour like overnight brew. It.
Or put it in a big teapot like they do in Russia and let it sit there for hours at a time. That's awesome. I didn't even know that there's birch trees up in Idaho over there. Because in Russia, that's what Russia's kind of known for, is birch trees. These white trees that look like Dalmatian kind of dogs and stuff. But yeah, man. Well, that's awesome. So it's all, like always, it's about the quality and not the quantity, I guess, and be careful where it comes from, huh?
Yeah, and I think, are they foundational for health? Maybe not, but depending on what you want to do, if I'm doing a lot of studying or writing, I'll do the lion's mane. If I feel a little tired, I'll do cordyceps.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel a little stressed, I'll do reishi. And they're just fun to play with. I think I really like herbalism. I've been messing around for years with goji, schizandra, hoshu wu,
Mm-hmm.
pine pollen,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then just different blends. And I have like a whole little thing of tinctures in my kitchen that I'll just grab from. And big fan of like deer antler and elk velvet antler. Definitely feel the benefits of that, especially being in a cold climate. You might have heard of like the yang
Yeah.
substances in like traditional Chinese medicine, and
Yeah.
just increasing my internal heat up
Mm-hmm.
here because it gets pretty cold. That's been really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. So I've never messed around, like, we were talking about Vitalis the other day, Mr. Daniel. He's big on deer antler and all that stuff, right? I
Yeah,
never messed around with it.
yeah, it's a certain stage of the year where the male deers have like a velvet stage on their antlers,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like trimming nails, they'll clip them and then powder them down, usually into a capsule, but sometimes into a tincture, which the tinctures are way more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I almost prefer the capsules. I have a friend that has a company in Canada, and he sources from, I think, like 40 or 50 elk farms
Very
and
cool.
sustainable elk farms. And uh, the way I look at it is it's like powdered bone broth, and it's also a mineral supplement. So you get a pretty good dose of copper and zinc, which to me, I'm all about, especially the copper, just the more copper. Just as I talking with Morley and just learning about that relationship with,
Yeah.
uh,
Those are great
vitamin.
podcasts you have, yeah. And so, what are your go-to sources with like copper and stuff? I mean, so you're really big on oysters and beef liver. Those are like your top two, basically.
Yeah, I actually prefer bison liver and elk liver.
Ooh, oh man. Can you buy that at grocery stores up there, or what? Or you just buy that from farms?
There's a good website called thehonestbison.com. We do have moose and elk I've seen on my road here, but yeah, just for ease, I buy it online. It's already clean. It's simple,
Yeah.
and I'll just cut it up into thirds, and then eat a third, and then save in little Tupperware things and freeze them. And I just pop them like pills because I wasn't raised on liver, so I don't do liver and onions. I just swallow them.
So at least you're honest about it. You don't dig it. That's cool.
Right.
Nothing worse than seeing somebody who's like our Mr. friend Paulie Salads, who like eats like raw fucking adrenal glands or whatever. It's like, stop trying to pretend you enjoy that. Stop it. What people love that wild shit, right? Just to like, it's just to look cool. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I was raised on liver. It's pretty popular in Russia, and like beef tongue. It's really normal for us. So I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I mean, I don't feel like eating it every day, but I do like it.
Someday I might like it. I'm open,
Yeah.
but I would just rather ease into it than like, okay, I'm going to muscle through this and, try.
Yeah. And that's a smart way of going out about it. Yeah, I like that, man. Because, I mean, I've tried like goat brain. I mean, it's disgusting. Go fuck yourself. I'm not going to eat that again. And I've tried heart, and it's okay. Chicken hearts are pretty good. You ever had chicken hearts? Like if they're nice and crunchy, if you can cook them up?
I have, and I'll have to try it. It's funny you mentioned that, though, because when I was telling you about my story, when I started eating meat again, it was like 2.5 years ago or whatever. When I discovered Ray, and then like 6 months later, I found ground bison with heart and liver. I don't know if you've seen companies that sell that, like the Honest Bison sells it.
Yep.
And to me back then, I was like, whoa, heart, that's like super primal. That's pretty crazy. And even just eating liver, because it tastes really metallic, and I couldn't even taste it, the ground
texture.
meat. So that's a tip I would give to people if you can find that blend. I think it's only like 2% of each.
Yeah,
so,
U.S. Wellness Meats, I think, also does that. That sort of mix. I don't know. I've never bought it, to be fair, but I know they do that. Yeah, but yeah, if you're looking for heart, I mean, beef heart, it's an acquired taste. Beef livers, I think it's much easier going down. But chicken hearts, because they're little and you can cook them up and give them like a nice sear, so they're a little crunchy. It's pretty good, I think. I think even some people that are borderline, like trying to like figure it out if they like it or not, they might like it. So yeah, try some
Nice.
chicken livers, man. Yeah.
I'll try. Yeah, last year we raised geese here and slaughtered them, and it was so interesting looking into their stomach because they would sneak into the chicken coop and eat the chicken grain.
Mm-hmm.
And geese are grass eaters. That's their ideal diet, is just grazing on grass.
Mm-hmm.
And its stomach was just full of grain when we opened it.
Oh man,
So it was kind of gross because it was just sitting there.
it's crazy, right? We're doing that to the animals, or we're doing that to the people too. The same thing. Just yeah, man, that's crazy. So you mentioned like eating pasta and what else? Burgers maybe, and peanuts, peanut oil, French fries fried in peanut oil. So I mean, it's obvious that you're not obsessive about this stuff, and I'm not either.
Yeah.
But I think you do eat. Like I've seen you post pancakes and stuff like that. Pretty regularly on your feed on Instagram. So
Yep.
you're not full boat Ray Pete kind of
Mm-hmm.
let's not eat any grains whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what's your diet like in general? I mean, is that what it is usually? Some meat, some fruits, and some wheat here and there.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a little boring. I'm actually trying to spice it up because I eat the same thing every day, pretty much, which I don't know. I just never really get bored with food. I'll put some spices, but I guess if I had to sum it up, it's like eggs from my chickens, 3 to 4 a day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do quite a bit of milk, anywhere from a quart to a half gallon of milk from my doe. So I have goats.
That's beautiful.
Goat.
Very jealous of you, brother. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they're drinking that magnesium water, and I give them mineral supplements, and so they're getting. It's probably the best
man.
goat milk up here.
And they're getting your love from you, so it's awesome, man. Seriously, I mean, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, they get their pets. Yeah. So yeah, quite a bit. I rely pretty heavily on the goat's milk. I'll do good amount of cheese every day. Cheese quesadilla, like white flour. Generally a steak a day, and it's a really good grass-fed, grass-finished top sirloin from local farms.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do like a half pound on average. Sometimes a healthy root beer, Virgil's, but there's even a better brand if I can get that one, called Natural Brew, like wintergreen oil and birch oil.
I haven't tried that one. I'm going to be honest with you. Virgil's, I don't know, man. I think it's just all right. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sponsored by them, obviously. But I don't know. I've had better, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's a little flat for me. Like, I want it to be a little more carbonated. You know what I mean? I like the carbonation.
Right. Yeah, and I'll go through phases with Mexican Coke. Fortunately, a lot of the places up here, they have it, like the burger joint, so I love that. So like a burger and Mexican Coke is such a good combo.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. And just trying to think what else. I've been getting a little bit into beets lately. Oh, potatoes. I'll go through phases of having potatoes, butter, and salt. Yeah, but I am looking for new simple recipes. I'll eat pasta on average once a week.
Mm-hmm. So not too much of flour, but you do eat it here and there, and you're not super obsessive about avoiding it completely. Because it's that one. It can be tricky. I think some people. I legitimately think that some people do have really bad reactions to eating a lot of wheat. But I wonder if it's from maybe years and years and years of eating like cereal for breakfast, like 2 pieces of bread for lunch, and then like pasta for dinner every day, right? So it's like, that's a lot of wheat. I wonder if it's that. But then some people do great they eat grains and they feel completely fine. I mean, like working with clients and talking to people, what kind of experiences have you had?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's an epidemic of like allergies happening right now. Like everyone's allergic to everything. So that's why we see like the trending carnivore diet and the trending raw vegan diet, because they're so limited that only these specific foods, like a steak, doesn't give them a reaction. It's like, okay, obviously the body's messed up. And to me, I tend to look at the pancreas. I think that's overlooked, the pancreas health. And that's what creates our digestive enzymes. And it's harmed by PUFAs. It's benefited by bicarbonate ion. Not just sodium bicarbonate like baking soda, but magnesium bicarbonate I think is awesome for it. And also sugar. Ray Pete's talked about sugar or generating the beta cells of the pancreas that create insulin.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there's obviously a lot of things going on. Definitely sluggish liver. Yeah, liver's probably pretty full of lipofuscin and just trying to truck along and do what it can.
Yeah. So how do you tell people? Do you tell people to just have a little bit of grain, or you ever tried to tell them to completely cut it out and have other starches?
I mean, I've had people tell me, just being on my CLF protocol, just getting, don't have to do it to a T, but just what they can, that they've had their allergies go away, and now they can eat whatever. I've had multiple times, and that's, you could focus on specific organs and systems, but I just try to take a whole body approach and say, okay, let's plug in vitamin E, let's get some Shilajit for mineral balance, maybe some vitamin K2 to help to support the mitochondria. Calcium regulation.
Yeah, I like that approach. Just, doing some things here and there instead of just going full Michaela Peterson, right? And just fucking, I'm only eating steak. That's it. Like, I mean, I get how people end up there, though. Of course, it's a lot of problematic issues that, it didn't happen overnight, right? I feel like most people, it's probably people feeling like shit for 10 years and not doing much about it, right? And then it's just like, okay, and then the only thing that does help is going full carnivore. And but I like that approach of just doing a few little good steps and seeing how you go instead of being so extreme about it. Because I think people get lost, and then probably they start joining in that like dark side of like, oh, this is the way, this is the only way. Don't go anywhere else besides this way.
Absolutely, yeah. The anti-supplement crowd's really fascinating to me because it's like, good luck. Like, how are you supposed to, how are you going to get everything from food? I mean, especially just when we look at like how much iron overload drains magnesium. My float tank guy that helped me set up my sensory deprivation tank, he was saying about Dr. Mercola that his red blood cell magnesium wouldn't budge with even oral supplementation, which I think he was taking like 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams a day. Pretty good dose.
That's a big dose, yeah.
And it wasn't until he got the transdermal in, like with it, where his numbers actually started. And that's probably because he's iron overloaded. I don't know, but
yeah, it could be some stomach issues too. It could be the acid in the stomach. I don't know. Yeah, it's a whole case. It's a whole problem there. It's a whole case there to figure it out, because I've done that too, and I didn't do 3 to 4. Maybe I did like 1 to 2 grams, but didn't make much of a difference for me. So I don't know, man. I've
been doing because of Adam, I started on tequila because I was doing red wine for a while.
Oh yeah? Sounds like Adam.
Yeah, he just mentions it casually in my interview with him. He's like, yeah, my anti-parasitic drink is pineapple juice and tequila, 1 shot of tequila every night. And I think a couple days later, I'm at the liquor store. I'm like, okay, Adam.
This is for you. That's awesome. So how'd you feel?
Yeah, but I've been doing it. I'll take some days off, but for the last week or two, and the research on ethanol and lipofuscin is really fascinating to me, because it seems like a little bit of alcohol consumption decreases lipofuscin, and then a lot increases it.
Yeah.
So if you do
that's
like
the stuff.
shots.
That's what I've been on to. Yeah, it's like it's crazy though. The studies, it's really like a tablespoon, almost something like that. It's like a few hundred milligrams. Yeah, it's I don't know. So I had no idea what to do with that information.
Yeah, I don't go over like an ounce. I mean, maybe here and there, but like an ounce is just in a large thing. If not from concentrate organic pineapple, I can't remember the name. Lakewood. Yeah, Lakewood's the name of the company of juice I buy. But yeah, I've been messing around with infopathy. I just had Anton on my show. It's like infoceuticals, like homeopathy into water, like frequencies. So I do that on my little alcohol drink.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, I saw that. I saw you post about him the other day. Also, another Russian. You're really supporting the Russians. I love it, Matt. Yeah, so he has this device, right? So you just put it sort of on the table. Does it just plug into the wall, or do you plug it into the computer?
So the audio jack, so you could either use your computer or your phone.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it just needs an internet connection because you do it through their website.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like 1,500 called ICs, infoceuticals. And yeah, you can categorize it by imprint program. And yeah, you could do like Swedish bitters, you know, you could do melatonin, you could do magnesium threonate, you could do pregnenolone, testosterone, whatever you want. You can even do flower essences, which I really like because I used to take those, the physical ones years ago. And yeah, it's fun. It's crazy because I brought it to my family down in California recently for my brother's birthday, and they didn't believe in it. My mom, dad, my brother, and I was just like, let me try it. And my mom's like, this tastes carbonated. Like, because she drinks the water all the time. She's like, this tastes carbonated after I just imprinted like 2 programs into her water. And then my brother and my dad actually felt the programs. Like for my dad, you know, he's a beer drinker. So I'm like, oh, he's probably estrogen out. I love him, but I'm like trying to help him. So I'm like, here's testosterone, pregnenolone, DHEA. He had trouble sleeping that night. It was crazy.
Interesting. You just loaded him up with hormones, huh?
I remember Georgie. Like Georgie was in the back of my mind. Like,
Dad just wakes up, just starts lifting in the middle of the night, just working out. Matt, what the fuck did you give me, bro? That's really cool, man. So we, you know, I also want to give you some credit for another, because you brought up podcast, and I remember I wanted to talk to you about your another one of your podcasts and give you some credit. The podcast about where you said that you're no longer a Christian, but you still love Jesus, and how you've kind of evolved in your spiritual kind of quest. And I love that. I just thought it was so great because, like we talked about earlier, people just, you know, stick to their fucking guns and they're not moving anywhere. They're not willing to even mention it and talk about it, that, hey, yeah, you know, I'm kind of questioning these ideas, although I still think they're maybe good or beneficial or whatever. Yeah. And so what's been going on with you spiritually, man?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that took some courage to do that. Cause
I bet, seriously, that's a real thing, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Cause I kind of built a community last year around that. And, you know, I didn't know how people were going to respond, but I think most people understood it. I did definitely get attacked pretty viciously. And still, I mean, there's like an Orthodox carnivore Agenus Vonderplanets Christian, really aggressive, nasty, mean people out like this community.
I love how you put all those together. That's awesome. Right? But it's so true.
Yeah. It's like super judgmental, super vicious, super character attack. It's just like, you guys need a lot of sugar. I mean, I troll, you know, I'll troll Ron and Pat, and it's like one post. I don't go for months. I mean, these people, you know, making hate videos and just daily. And so, yeah, that just made me see, like, just seeing nasty Christians. We've all seen them, right? And of course they'll be like, well, you know, you just were at the wrong church or you were in the wrong community. It's like, well, that's all I need to see, you know, because I don't want to go that direction.
It's exactly what they say with the diet stuff, right? Oh, you didn't do carnivore right, or you didn't do vegan right. Let me tell you how I did it because I'm right and you're wrong, Matt, right?
Yeah. And for me, like, I still very much value the family structure, because that's one thing that kind of brought me into Christianity, because I saw the whole, you know, Aubrey Marcus, the whole Burning Man, the whole
You're saying you didn't have 3 girlfriends and you guys were all banging each other and then started to give just for people that they don't know, they don't have any context. I mean, this guy, listen, I'm all for do whatever you want, be whoever you want, be whatever gender you want, be gay, I'm for it. I just don't like the people that are kind of full of shit about it, you know? And you know, he had like they had this whole polyamory thing going on, and then they started giving out these workshops and these seminars, right? And the whole time, I remember just looking at his Instagram back when I followed him, I was just screaming, like, just dump this girl and find yourself a normal, nice lady. And you will, I promise you, all that polyamory bullshit, it'll go out of your head. And what happened with him now, by the way? Now he's married, right? He has a single fucking committed relationship. So, yeah, it's funny though, right? I mean, again, I'll respect him for at least changing his tune, right? And he's not doing these fucking $3,000 seminars to, to learn how to fuck other people and like at the same time have a relationship. So, and yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up to you, because I think, it took massive balls from you, brother, for, just being open about it and talking about it openly. I think it's great.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Before I stopped watching TV years ago, Rock of Love and Flavor of Love were my shows.
Flavor Flav! That was the best. Oh, man. Flavor! That was the best. Yeah, but they don't even do that anymore, because, see, if those shows came out today, they would get canceled, bro, because it would be misogynistic, racist, homophobic. It would be all labeled all that sort of stuff, even though it was just pure fun back in the day, right?
Yeah. For me, the whole, I don't know how deep we want to go on this, but like the sex and religion thing is big. And that's the thing that people judge others on. And I've even, as you just mentioned, do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. I know Christians that wish that gays would burn in hell for eternity. It's like, and I was one of those for a while. Now I'm just like, whoa, like that's, I mean, you're like hating another, like that's not healthy for you to like hate somebody. I don't know.
I'd agree with that.
So yeah. So I discovered this organization called Recovering from Religion, and I started listening to Dr. Daryl Ray. This was like late last year, and my back went out. I had a really weird injury that wasn't physically caused, and it was like the most pain I've ever been in my life. Never experienced it. It was like 9 days. I couldn't even lay on my back to go to sleep. I was in excruciating pain. Tried everything. And then that healed overnight, just from a 10 out of 10 to a 0, just to 1 point. It was just, and I think it was a spiritual thing I was going through.
Wow.
And then like a month or two later, same thing happened to my neck for like 3 days. And then that was completely, it's like so weird.
Yeah. It happens, man. I believe in that stuff. I think it's true. Yeah. I think it's real. I think there's a variety of stuff that happens, but I do think that, people often have, I had an experience with a client like that, that I was training, that moved. It was a great client, still a great friend to this day. He had like a situation with a girl, that basically was blackmailing him. Let's just put it at that. And, his shoulder just kept hurting for months and months. It was almost maybe 6 months, half a year. And then finally, when it was all over, when she went out of his life, he took care of that situation. Same thing. It was almost overnight. He just kind of came back to me. He's like, yeah, it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm good. So, but sometimes people don't notice those things, and, it takes time.
Yeah. Yeah. It really opens you up to, that there's more, that, because there's just all these, health accounts that are just like diet, food, carnivore, steaks. It's like, that's all there is to health. It's like, how are you treating other people? Like, I mean, it's one thing to joke, but just how are you like treating other people? And like, are you a good person? Just all that basic stuff. And are you like
even
walking
yourself
away from trouble? Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, for Dr. Daryl Ray, just talking about the sexual guilt cycle is really cool, because I've just seen both extremes there, where it's just like, you're an animal, just go crazy. And then no premarital sex. It's like, where's the balance? Like, because obviously we're like a spiritual being and an animal, right? We're not just one or the other.
I'm with you. No, man. Dinosaurs didn't exist. Don't you know anything? Earth is flat.
Yes, I think monogamy is ideal. I think, I don't know any woman that doesn't want that. I think a lot of men aren't sure. Maybe they just haven't gotten that out of their system yet, or whatever, dating around. But I think eventually when you get to a certain maturity, you realize like, oh, that's probably, that's the ideal. I mean,
yeah. Well, you can talk about it on and on, but I mean, dude, it's just too much fucking work. Right?
Right.
That's like step number one. It's just way too much work. I mean, as a guy, especially, it's just like, oh my God. I mean, come on. So
you're dealing with a lot of people's problems. Yeah.
Come on, get out of here.
You like a truckload of sugar. Yeah.
You just need like buckets every day, right? Just to keep it cool. That's funny, man.
Yeah. So yeah, spirituality, I just tend to go by experience, and I I just try to stay humble about it and just be real with what I'm going through all the time. I think people appreciate that. And just, I've gone through my phases of studying, the pyramids and the Mayans. I don't know. It's like all that.
Yeah.
Going down rabbit. Yeah. And I think there's some truth in, there's some truth in the Bible. There's some truth in, the pyramid stuff and just in everything. And, yeah, I think people get kind of lost in one thing. And so for me, I just try to go by like what I've experienced and kind of just connect the dots and have my own thing that I live by.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because I mean, like even your day to day is not, even if you have a routine. I mean, day to day is so different every day. It's kind of weird to me that people get so absorbed with one thing. But I think it's okay to get absorbed. Just probably get absorbed and then get absorbed something else and just kind of keep moving. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Right now, like my priority is like good relationships, family, friends, romantic, and then a clean source, an abundant source of clean air, food, water. And then like next month, I'm making a big leap to go fully off grid. So abundant power, which has been a goal of mine for like a decade.
Very cool. And, how are you doing that? You're gonna do solar panels and all that sort of stuff like that?
Yeah, solar and propane. And then I might delve into wind at some point because it's kind of a little bit higher elevation. But yeah, seeing the thing go down in Texas, where they just,
yeah, where they lost power.
Right?
Well, it just shows you how reliant we are. I mean, whether you like it or not, I mean, yeah, it takes a lot of work to completely be off the grid like that. So what's your goal? Is just to be, do you have a little garden out there where you grow stuff? I mean, you have your goats you mentioned, chickens.
Yeah. So this was kind of like, this was like version 1, like this homestead. So I built a shed and just 4 hens and a rooster. So it's a pretty small flock. I want to grow that out and increase that, maybe triple, quadruple. Yeah. And I just have a buck and a doe, but I want to grow that out, grow the herd. Plan on getting like a second doe and then probably sheep at one point, and then probably a donkey because there's grizzly, to protect from grizzlies or anything else.
That's awesome. And you can ride the fucker, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, the gardening I'm still figuring out because I can eat potatoes every day, and the root veggies, as I've learned from Pete, are like ideal, your carrots, beets, and I know there's a lot more, but potatoes.
But you're not growing those yourself right now, or are you?
I plan to. I'm not right now. What I've been doing is just storing them in my root cellar. So I'll just buy potatoes in bulk and then put them down there. And I guess for long-term storage, you can put them in sand, and they won't send out their,
Yeah, they'll hold for a while if it's cold. Plus, it's in Idaho, so it's cold out there. So yeah, they'll hold for a long time. Well, that's awesome, man. That's really awesome. Well, update us. I'm sure you will, right? When you start getting going on that.
I will. Yeah, and I want to. My neighbor's an expert hunter, and so I want to get more into hunting deer and skinning them and having the whole meat locker and
so you haven't done any of that yet, right?
No, I've helped him clean deer a couple times. But not yet. What's cool is I could just go outside my front door and shoot. So I don't need to go to a range, which is awesome up here.
That's awesome. You got the hillbilly setup, right? You just sit in the chair. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, you update us when that happens. Yeah, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure and a treat. I really appreciate it, brother. Let people know how they can find your stuff, where you're most active on.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, Leo. Thanks so much. They can find me on matt-blackburn.com. That's my main website. I have my blog posts up there. I think I average like 1 post a year. I have to start writing more.
Well, you're much more active on social media, though. So we get to see your life up there. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, and then my brand's Mitolife, mitolife.co. I have my products. And then my podcast is Mitolife Radio. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm always working on new products. Right now, my focus is, as I mentioned, water. So a shower filter and a drinking water filter.
Hmm.
But I'm building it from scratch, so it's just taking so long. But
A lot of moving
probably
parts.
right. Yeah, I'd say I can promise by the last quarter of this year for sure they'll be out.
Oh, sweet.
So,
Awesome, brother. Well, okay. We'll be looking forward to that. And maybe we can do this again sometime. It's a real treat, brother. I
it
appreciate
was a
your
lot of
time.
fun.
Thank you so much, man.
Things you own
Thanks,
end up
brother.
owning you.